I want to talk about LeBron.
Okay, I actually started, so we can start right in. Hello, welcome to another episode of Sutton Impact Family Style. We're back in our normal. Well, I'm in New Orleans still, and you're in Miami, right?
Yeah, and I had a great time with you in New Orleans. So let's start off. Let's start off with our foods. And so we told everybody to listen to our food show.
We did.
So I have a new favorite restaurant that you were ill and could go to called Brixton's.
This is big news because you have been a GW Fins guy
for 20 years.
20 years.
And this has now knocked it off. And it was the service. It was the ambiance. Fins is loud.
Yes.
This place was really nice. It's an old house. It's been remodeled with a bunch of all the rooms are dining rooms. They had amazing seafood, amazing chocolate creme brulee, great service, really fun place to be. And so it is now knocked it. Even though I only there once, it was good enough that it knocks Fins to number 2 now.
And the crazy thing is, it was Finn's inability to give us that Friday night reservation that caused you to go search for something else, and you ended up finding this one.
Yeah. Now, breakfast is a toss-up because I ate a cake twice and I ate a Bearcat once, and so I like them both equally, but they're very different.
Very different.
But I thought they were both amazing. The pancakes at Bearcat were every bit of what you said they were. In fact, the next time I go, I might just get pancakes and bacon, blueberry pancakes and bacon, because the pancakes were good. But I just really. I like about cake. Cake is the people are really friendly.
Oh, fantastic!
They are really, really nice. Like the two women that were running it when Mom and I went on yesterday morning. We got our breakfast, and it was like, yeah, can we do this for you? Can we do this? And you want to try this? It was really, really nice. I thought they're so friendly, and the food was just amazing. Great omelets, and I think I had some kind of a blueberry open-faced turnover. And Mom had that lemon icebox cupcake again that she really liked. But, just a great place. And it was walkable for us, which was nice. Because walking there and back was like a mile and a half.
Yeah.
And that made breakfast worthwhile.
Yeah, I have them as 1A and 1B or whatever you want to call it, because I go to them for different reasons. Like, Bearcat, like you had it, they have excellent pressed and fresh squeezed juices, and the pancakes are outstanding. And then cake is more my omelet place, and omelets,
Yep.
egg dishes, biscuits, pastries, biscuits and gravy. Like that's, So and again, like you said, the service at cake, they remember my name and my order almost every time, even if I don't go in for like 5 or 6 weeks. And
it's just, I don't know, it's a real friendly down home kind of place.
Yeah.
And the biscuit is an amazing biscuit.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's a giant biscuit, and it's real. It's great. In fact, I wanted to bring a biscuit home and take it to Chick-fil-A and get my chicken and put on that and see what I thought about it. But amazing. I mean, that was just really, really good. And then Mosca's was good. It was more fun than it was good.
Yeah. It's a solid, you're not going to get a bad meal at Mosca's, but it's not like the best food you've ever had. But especially someone like you that knows the history. Yeah.
I mean, that was a bottomless bowl of spaghetti.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
And I ate solid for 20 to 30 minutes and didn't even come close to finishing the spaghetti. But you have to get the extra order of the red gravy. There's no question.
Yeah, I think it's a menu item. Like, it's listed on the menu.
Smart, yeah.
Yeah. Which I think they know they're not giving you enough sauce. Because it's not like, sometimes you can ask for it and they're like, oh, it's going to be a little bit of an upcharge, but they actually have it in the, extras.
Well, angel hair is like a sponge. Angel hair really sucks up the sauce.
It's true. It does.
And the meatballs were good. They weren't great. But it was a fun place to go to if you buy into the legend.
Yes.
And when you look at the place, you can see that little room we saw. It was like a private dining area. You could kind of fantasize in your own mind what it would be like.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really good.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't think, did I eat any lunch?
I don't know. But we also had, I'll give a shout out to Lorraine's, which you got me, I never been, but you brought me 2 sweet potato cookies from there. And
so Lorraine's or Loretta's? I don't even remember what it was.
Oh, Loretta's. I'm sorry, Loretta's on Rampart.
Yep.
And they were just outstanding sweet potato cookies. They had like a little, the middle was like a little circle of almost like sweet potato pie filling inside of and it was crispy but chewy cookies. Just really, really good.
Yeah, they look good. I was excited we got that. Best dessert of the week for me was the chocolate creme brulee at Brixton's.
Nice.
It was really good. And they had lemon box creme brulee, lemon ice box creme brulee. They had regular creme brulee, and they had 4 different creme brulees.
A lot of creme brulee.
Yeah, which is not a bad thing.
No.
So we ate well. That's the point.
Yes.
We ate very, very well. And then on the way home yesterday, when Mom and I got to eat at Fat Rabbit, which is becoming rapidly one of my very, very favorite places.
That's a really, really good spot in Tampa.
It's best sports bar food I've ever. If you want to classify it as a sports bar, I guess it is because of all the TVs.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
It might have the best sports bar food I've ever had because the food is way better than what you get in a sports bar.
And they don't have a weak point. The wings are good. The burgers are good. The fries are good. Like across, it's not like,
Yeah.
Like some places make really good wings and everything else is okay. Some places make really good burgers, but everything good there is good. Top notch.
I'm still yet to have wings, but I get my go-to is a buffalo chicken sandwich, which is a humongous piece of pounded chicken, great buffalo sauce, and fries. And I mean, I love that.
And they have the fresh cut French fries too, which
yes, they do.
We're a big fan.
Fresh cut sweet potato fries as well.
Yes, and I think they even have tots for the tots people, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I've had tots there before. Tots aren't bad.
Yeah, I know some people love the tots, so yeah.
But all in all, it was great. I can hardly wait to do it again because there's definitely some other places we can go next time we do the tour.
Exactly.
And it was fun. Like Chase Jones went to dinner with us. And it was fun going to dinner with Chase and seeing Chase after some, I've seen him for the last 20 years on and off. It was always fun. We had a great time at dinner. So all in all, it was a great, great, great trip.
Nice.
As well as the tour of the set of NCIS.
Which was very cool, yes. I've given a couple of those lately. A lot of people have come down.
All right, I guess the first sports thing I want to talk about is I watched the Lakers and the Clippers yesterday.
Okay.
Which I don't think I've watched the full NBA game for a while if I wasn't there. I mean, I've gone to a couple, but I haven't seen one on TV for full. And I want to tell you, as much as I love my pick for the MVP, Luka, I got to say that if LeBron doesn't win the MVP, it's a miscarriage of justice.
I think Giannis still has a very strong case.
He does, but if you look at what the Laker team was last year,
yes,
and what the Laker team is now, and how well he's playing, off of Anthony Davis, I was blown away by LeBron, and his heart is back. He's playing more like Kobe than he is LeBron. I think they're going to win.
I think he's going to win the MVP for a couple of... I think Giannis won it last year and had the playoff flame out, which is never a good reason to win back-to-back MVPs. As good as they've been this year, LeBron has been the story lately. You've got, maybe this is LeBron's last great year before Anthony Davis becomes the man. You have the Kobe, the Mamba tattoo, the Kobe death, the LeBron stuff. I mean, he's also the narrative MVP now, which usually is almost more important than actually being the best basketball player.
Yep.
He's got all the storylines that make him an interesting person to vote for. And, and I'm sure people would argue, he probably should have more MVPs than he does currently, just like Jordan and every other great player. And if you ever have a chance to give that player that award, you pretty much always do. So, and Giannis got hurt, and, and when they went head-to-head, the Lakers won. I mean, granted, Giannis sprained his knee at some point in the game and wasn't able to finish. But, in the big moment down the stretch, LeBron got the win.
I was very impressed. And the other thing I came away with is, as improved as the Clippers are, and they're much more popular than they were, that it doesn't matter. That's always going to be the Lakers' home game.
Oh, yeah.
It just doesn't matter.
It does not.
But I like the team. And then, on a reverse part of this, I also watched the Pelicans a couple of times. And I have to say that I have never been a big Lonzo Ball fan, but I am this year.
Yeah.
His passing is spot on. He's playing really, really well, and he really is fitting well with that team. I think he's good to be out of the spotlight, good to be away from his father, good to be in a smaller market where he can kind of, where he doesn't have to be the man because, obviously, big number one is the man, and he's always going to be the man. So he's more of a supporting character, but he's playing well, making the team play really well.
And I think this is, like his expectations, like when Magic drafted him and they said he was, the next. I mean, besides his dad hyping him up, the Laker fans hyped him up, Magic hyped him up, and it's like he's not the next Magic. He's a solid player, a solid NBA starter, maybe a couple of time All-Star, but he's not an all-time. I don't think he's ever gonna be an all-time great. No. He's in a really good situation for him now.
But definitely fun to watch.
It is. Now we got I think we have two other weird basketball stories. Did we talk about Spike Lee last week?
We talked a little bit about Spike Lee last week.
It seems like
it just happened.
Yeah, it seems like the Knicks have. I mean, it seems like the entire sports world is on Spike Lee's side, and this is just more piling onto the Knicks, and it's bringing back more.
There's a lot of anti-Dolan sentiment because people feel that the only thing keeping Knicks away from being a great team is Dolan.
He certainly isn't helping them. That's for sure.
No. And you know what? It's one of those things. Like, I love the NBA, but the NBA is a better league when the Knicks are good.
Of course.
That you need that strong New York team. And New York has such a great basketball tradition. It's kind of a shame to see where that team is. I mean, just, it's not fun.
No, and I mean, when I sort of fell in love with and sort of understanding the NBA was with, I really fell in love with like those late 80s, early 90s Knicks with Ewing and Starks, my boy Anthony Mason, Oakley. I like the physical beat-em-up basketball. And that's the last time they were great. They had the 1 year with Melo, but the Melo trade was also one of the worst. I think you could argue when it's just a terrible trade.
Oh, hideous trade.
Hideous trade. And again, because they would have had Melo anyway, and they could have kept everybody. They just had to wait 6 months. Because he and his wife were never going to go anywhere but New York. And, since then, they've just been a laughingstock. And yet you look, nobody wants to abandon them,
Yeah.
Like, despite all that, there's, people like Spike Lee are still wearing Knicks gear and still, it's still MSG. People still want to play it, ball out at the Garden, NBA players, but they don't want to play for it. So,
and then New York is a good market. People love good basketball, so they're always going to go. You're never going to see a lot of empty seats. Some people empty seat protesting Spike Lee thing, but those are expensive seats to boycott. So I don't think you're going to boycott them too long. You're going to sell them if you don't want to go.
Yeah, I think so. Although I think Spike Lee's got enough money that if he wanted to have a silent protest and keep his seats empty for the rest of the season, I'm sure he probably could.
But paying $300,000 for those two seats he has, that's a lot of money.
And then across town, the whiniest team in the history of basketball, because I think they have the two whiniest players I've met in my entire life. I think they both surpassed James Harden of my least likable players in Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant. They got their coach fired.
Yep. And their coach who signed them and recruited them.
Yes.
So I couldn't quite figure that out.
And one of the reasons, apparently, some of the discord was that DeAndre Jordan, who was part of their quote-unquote big three, along with Kyrie and Kevin Durant, which I don't understand where that ever came from, because DeAndre Jordan's never been good enough to be part of a big three in his prime. But because washed DeAndre Jordan got benched for another center, that caused a lot of uproar between the Kyrie and the Kevin Durants of the world, apparently.
Yeah. You can only do what you can do, right?
Yeah. I suppose.
And then Ballmer is probably going to buy from James Dolan the Forum, where the Lakers used to play, which is now a music-only venue, because there's an agreement that you can't have another arena in Inglewood.
Yeah.
So he's going to buy that one and own that one, and then he could build his own building.
Which makes sense.
Yeah. He's going to have a fan. But I don't know how, that building is so good for concerts. I don't know if you're going to want to have concerts in your own building.
Yeah.
Or your other building, let's put it that way.
And, is like you said with it. I mean, that's still it's just a Lakers town, and
Oh, absolutely a Lakers town. It's a Lakers Dodgers town, and the Rams are never going to be all that.
no, or the Chargers, sadly.
Yeah, the Chargers are going to be less than that.
The Chargers need to move to another market quickly. I know they're not going to because they just signed a new deal and everything else, but it's not a great place for them.
No. Did we talk about Mike Trout Top Golf last week?
We did talk about Top Golf, yes.
I talked about Top Golf before Mike Trout did his thing.
Yeah, we did not talk the Mike Trout version, no.
And if everybody's seen that clip, it's amazing. And having been there, and I know the quality of the golf clubs there, and I know the balls are kind of restricted because they're red. There's a device in the balls. But for him to hit that ball all the way out there it's about 240, I would say, where he hit it out, and it was still going up. So that ball was well over 300 yards with a lousy golf club and not a brand new ball. So I mean, he crushed that thing.
And I feel like when you're actively playing baseball, it's difficult to switch to golf because the swings are so different. Not that you don't have the hand-eye coordination, but there's
Well, he absolutely crushed that ball.
Yeah.
He pulverized that thing.
Oh, without a doubt.
So still watching XFL.
I was about to say, I have not watched XFL at all. I haven't even paid attention in 2 weeks. So.
Well, I was watching the Vipers again because I really like Corn Dog, the guy from Oklahoma State that's playing. They only played 1 year of college, and he's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
But they scored 33 points and lost. That was a big game. That score was in the 70s for the over.
I mean, that would definitely help get viewers. I don't think
that was a 9 o'clock game, prime time. That was a prime time game.
Yeah.
So I turned it on right after The Outsider, and enjoyed it. I mean, I have enjoyed it. The Houston team seems to find a way to win every week, and they're kind of a fun story because of the PJ Walker guy. So it's going to be fun to watch and see if anybody catches up. The Dallas team's been a major disappointment. They're 2-3. You would have thought with Bob Stoops and everything else that would have been something special, but it's not.
No. It's not.
I haven't thought much about spring training yet. I'm going to have to give some thought for one of our later shows here. We're still in the early stages of spring training. We got about 3 weeks left. The Yankees, lots of injuries. Lots of people changing places. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I'll have to sit down and really give it some thought before I talk about it.
Yeah, I think that's
I
one.
feel confident saying the Pirates will lose 90.
Yeah, I think that's sadly confident. I think this is our Pittsburgh minute. This might be a rough year for Pittsburgh sports. Because the Penguins, with all the moves they made, have just been absolutely god-awful on defense. And they've lost, I think, 7 of the last 10 games after having a nice hot streak. And it was kind of a bummer because they had like this nice team of all these young guys they brought up out of necessity. And it seemed like it gave them a real crush and identity. And then, some of the veterans have come back healthy and they made a few trades and now they just look terrible. And then the Steelers.
And that's the problem that you have with trades.
Yeah.
Are you you make something, are you really adding something, or are you disrupting something?
And they're in that weird spot where, I hated the Jack Johnson move the Penguins made a couple years ago. I think that's still killing them. But, I mean, they've been to, under Rutherford. I mean, granted, you've had Crosby and Malkin, so, say what you will about, his moves that he's made. But, I mean, they've been one of the top teams in the NHL for over a decade. They've got 3 cups, so I don't really know what else Yeah. You can't really ask for much more. You feel selfish as a fan. But you watch these, and it was like, they were a fun team to watch. Because after all that success, you still had the, Crosby, Malkin, and the good guys. We had all these young guys like Marino and guys contributing. And obviously Gunsel getting hurt killed a lot of the momentum. But, you bring in, 40-year-old Marlowe from the Sharks, hoping, you get that veteran that needs the ring and you get the push. And they could still win in the playoffs, who knows. But it's been real sloppy the last bit. And then, we'll get to more into football later in the season, when we get closer. But I don't think it's going to be a good Steeler year either. So might be a rough year for Pittsburgh sports.
Well, the big football news of the day is Tua is cleared to resume football activities. and he's going to throw at his pro day on April the 9th.
Yes.
So, where do we think Tua is going to end up?
I think he's going to go 2. Maybe to the Redskins.
That'd be interesting.
Well, I mean, Tua is considered like a generational talent. Like they think he's as good as he's like, you know, without the injuries, he's one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college history. They said he anticipates throws better than anybody. Like it's like a Breeze or a Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, Dwayne Haskins was sort of a one-year wonder, and you know, he had a lot of things working against him last year, including a coaching staff that didn't really want him, and an owner that insisted on drafting him. But we've seen it before when new people come in. We saw it with Rosen and, you know, Kyler Murray last year, and I think we might see it again. Like, unless you really feel like Dwayne Haskins is, you know, if your grade on one is considerably higher, I don't think you can pass him up. They've already got a nice defensive line. And I know Chase Young and a pass rusher is great, but I just, you know, I don't think you can pass him up. And if he's really healthy.
If you're the Bengals, do you pass him up?
I think you got to take the hometown kid in Burrow. I think that's what the fans want.
Well, I know that the fans wanted the hometown kid a couple years ago in the NBA draft when they took Ayton from Arizona State instead of Luka Doncic.
Yeah.
I think they'd revisit that right now, don't you?
Oh, I definitely think they would, yes, without a doubt. But I think Burrow also, I mean, he had, you know, I think technically they showed stats. He's actually thrown 200 more college passes than Tua. And he just had arguably the greatest college season of any NFL or of any quarterback ever.
Yeah, he did have a ridiculous year.
And I think people like his moxie and his leadership, and I think when you're weighing the two against each other, I think he's got the arm strength and he's got a lot of those qualities. So I think the health factor and the hometown factor, I think you go with Burrow, but it's tough to say because apparently Tua is just one of those guys that just lights up a room too, where people just. The players gravitate around him. You can tell he's that kind of quarterback.
Well, I feel bad for Burrow and Tua. And the two teams might be Cincinnati and Washington.
It's true.
Two of the worst organizations in all sports.
I would say, though, if the Dolphins, and whether or not somebody trades up to 2 to get Tua, I feel like if Tua is healthy and whatever he thinks he is, then he's a quarterback, he's worth whatever you got to go get him. I do like the way the Dolphins played last year, and I like that coach a lot.
Yeah.
And I think if you're the Dolphins and you go get Tua with some of you have 3 first-round picks, and I think Washington would be happy to go get extra players if they decide they don't want Tua.
Yeah, I think so.
And I think you could have Fitzpatrick start and let Tua, make sure he's 100 to 150% healthy, whatever ridiculous percentage you want to give, and then, kind of roll with that.
And it's going to be interesting. It's going to be a fun draft.
It is.
Not for us because we don't get a draft pick till day 2.
No, but I mean, I'm happy that we have a 24-year-old safety who's an all-pro. Not just a Pro Bowler, but an all-pro. And when you look at the draft, I was looking at players going around that, and there's 3 safeties in that range. So I feel like, what the Steelers really needed was a quarterback, probably a running back and a receiver, and maybe another edge rusher. And it looks like the value at that position in the draft was going to be the safety, and they got him already.
Yeah.
It's my glass half full Steeler comment.
No, I think it's legit.
And in sad breaking coronavirus news, Major League Baseball, MLS, NHL, and the NBA all released a joint statement saying that they're closing the locker room to media due to the coronavirus outbreak.
And I'm not so sure what that's going to do. If there's 18,000 people in the arena, that would seem to be a bigger issue than 20 people in a media room.
Well, that's what I was thinking. I mean, I guess you could argue that, I guess it doesn't matter because if anybody, if the media is still there to cover it, then what difference does it make if, you have an international person, in the clubhouse or in the building? Like if you said, if there's 20,000 people in the stadium and they all have it, then, well,
then that's what it is.
Then everybody's exposed. And next thing, I guess, is start playing in front of empty arenas.
And I hope that doesn't happen. I got my NCAA tickets for next week, and I'm sure hoping that's not going to be canceled or not played before anybody.
No, hopefully not.
So how about a shout out to UConn? For the entire time they were in the American Athletic Conference, they were undefeated. The entire time.
It's pretty incredible.
Yep, the Lady Huskies won the tournament again. They run the table every year. They never lost a conference game or a conference tournament game. It's impressive.
It's very, very impressive. No question
so we're
about it.
139-0 in the American Athletic Conference. 139-0. That would be something we never see happen again.
No. And then I guess the only other sports news everybody's talking about is what everyone says is non-news, according to Charlie Weiss, who's now weighing in along with Dana White and everybody else on Tom Brady, which is nobody knows nothing. So stop speculating.
Well, I just don't think he goes back. And the reason I don't think he goes back is there's nothing there.
Yeah, and this will sound anti-New England, but I listen to another football podcast, and they keep referring to New England's defense as historical defense, historically great. And they were historically great for 11 weeks when they played, a washed-up Roethlisberger who probably was already hurt. The Dolphin, whoever the Jets quarterback was that wasn't Sam Darnold, because Sam Darnold had mono. They played just a murderer's row of terrible quarterbacks, and they put up these amazing stats. And when the defense actually needed to come through, they didn't. So even like the defense that has like 5 free agents isn't exactly like this. They're like, well, he's going back to a historical defense, and I'm like, I know when it's all said and done, like you gave. Again, I sound like sour grapes because my guy didn't get the Defensive Player of the Year, but Stephon Gilmore didn't do anything to stop Mahomes and those guys. He couldn't even stop Ryan Fitzpatrick on a 90-yard drive in New England to secure a first-round bye. So it's like, even the defense isn't that good. And your offensive line is shaky. Like, yeah, there's not much to go back to except Belichick.
No. You got one receiver. You don't have a tight end. You got nothing.
Yeah.
And I mean, some of the rumors are crazy, like Jimmy Garoppolo for Brady. I don't see that. If Dak doesn't sign, I can still see the Dallas scenario.
Yeah.
But, I could see Tennessee and I could see the Chargers. But I could definitely see him going somewhere where he'd go win one more Super Bowl and then hang it up.
Again,
he's not going to win a Super Bowl next year in New England. That's not going to happen.
If you're the LA team that nobody even remembers is in LA, the Chargers, signing Tom Brady would be a pretty big deal.
It's going to be a huge deal.
Because you're going to get jersey sales, and you're going to get eyeballs, and you're going to get Sports Center stories. Like, you're going to be the LA team people talk about, unless the Rams become historically great again, which I don't think they're going to. So,
no, it would be a good way to do a lot of different things, and you'd pay him a shitload of money.
Yeah.
And he'd have plenty of weapons.
And he just opened his own production company in Los Angeles, and his wife lives there and loves it there. So, yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Well, we'll have to see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that if that happens, we're going to be watching the Chargers a lot in prime time.
Yes, we are. They will get flexed a lot. And I just want to see it to shake it up. So, I think it'd be fun.
We have we already had our food moment. What's our entertainment moment? The Outsider?
I think The Outsider. It just wrapped up on HBO. I will say, before people, this is just shout out, I don't know if you noticed, but it did not say series finale. It said season finale. But I feel like I got a complete story, and I don't really want any more.
I don't want any more either. I think if you go back to the well now, you're reaching.
Yeah. But I thought for a Stephen King story that, the writing was fantastic. I mean, you had George Pelecanos wrote some, Dennis Lehane, writers we really like were writing the scripts.
Yeah.
The acting was superb. It was well cast, and everybody, I thought, just crushed their performances. And I think that added like a whole other level to, the writing and the acting just made it so that, you could be in this world with this, I mean, you can tell from watching the trailer, if you haven't watched the show, it's Stephen King, so there is a supernatural presence available. But it just grounds it in a world that you're, able to, it's less of a leap, I guess.
I don't think there was a leap in the whole thing. I think it made a lot of sense. I mean, if you accept that could happen, then it was well done, well orchestrated. It was 10 weeks. You wouldn't want to go any longer.
No.
You could probably win 8. But 10 was fine.
Because I think, like I said, the writing and the cast elevated it so it never felt... I was never bored for a minute watching the show.
No. And the time went really fast.
Yeah. And if you have a chance to watch it, I would definitely watch that on HBO.
Absolutely.
Now, again, if they wanted to do the ensemble thing where they bring this cast back and these writers back and they do a different story, I'd be all about that. But I don't want a continuation. Just like with Big Little Lies. Like, I love Big Little Lies. But that second season, the first year. But we didn't need to, I mean, the book was only about the first year. There was nothing, Meryl Streep or not, there was no need for a second season. But if those people wanted to stay together, add Meryl Streep and, do a different story, I'd have been happy with it. But,
Yeah. Well, I hope everybody liked our show on food. Our primary thing this week was our New Orleans extravaganza.
Yes. And you posted pictures on your Twitter, I believe.
I did, so go to my Twitter account, and some are even on Facebook. But you go to my Twitter account, Sutton_impact, or Sutton_impact U is my Twitter. So go there, check out great food pictures, and it was great. It was great being with Jason, and then my meal with Chase, it was fun being together and eating all this great food together.
Yeah. Well, until next week, we'll probably talk more NBA for sure.
I'll be talking conference tournaments to see who ends up, who the stretches are, who the surprises are. We'll be talking, unfortunately, coronavirus.
Unfortunately. And then obviously...
I hope everybody has a good week. Stay safe. Take precautions.
Wash those hands.